How does an uneducated laywoman from a large, bustling family in Siena rise to become an advisor to popes and a doctor of the Universal Church? In a 14th century world dominated by powerful men and ecclesiastical crises, St. Catherine of Siena proved that the most potent force in history is a soul completely set afire by the consuming love of Jesus Christ. Her life was a testament to the incredible power of mystical prayer, transformed into courageous action. Welcome to The Cross Remains, where we explore the eternal truths of the Catholic faith and the lives of those who lived them heroically. Today, we journey to the tumultuous 14th century to examine the extraordinary life of St. Catherine of Siena. In an era marked by the devastation of the Black Death and deep divisions within the church hierarchy, God raised up a mystic to heal his wounded body. Catherine's life reminds us that true reform always begins in the interior silence of the heart before spilling out into the world. Born Caterina Benincasa in 1347, she was the 25th child of a prosperous wool dyer. Yet, amidst the chaotic noise of a massive household, Catherine found a profound solitude. Even at the tender age of 6, she experienced her first vision of Christ, seated in glory and surrounded by saints. This moment stamped eternity onto her soul. While other children played, Catherine was already being drawn into the depths of contemplative prayer, sensing a call that would eventually lead her far beyond the domestic sphere of Siena. As she entered adolescence, Catherine faced immense pressure from her family to marry. To resist their worldly plans, she cut off her beautiful golden brown hair, a drastic act of defiance against social expectations. In response, her parents treated her like a servant in her own home, hoping to break her will. Yet Catherine turned this persecution into spiritual gold. Deprived of a physical room for prayer, she famously discovered the inner cell of her heart, a cloister no human force could invade, where she dwelt continually with her divine spouse. Eventually, her family relented, recognizing the undeniable authenticity of her vocation. However, Catherine did not choose the enclosed life of a traditional nun. Instead, she felt called to become a Mantellata, a member of the Dominican Third Order. These were mostly older widows who lived in their own homes while dedicating themselves to prayer and charity. Catherine, young and fervent, adopted their black and white habit, remaining in the world but not of it, a visible sign of contradiction in the busy streets of Siena. For 3 years, Catherine withdrew almost completely into the solitude of her room, speaking only to her confessor. These were years of intense mystical formation, marked by severe fasting and profound spiritual battles. It was a period of preparation, a hidden furnace where her human will was being consumed and replaced by the divine will. In this sacred silence, she learned to converse familiarly with Christ, laying the foundation for the incredible dialogues she would later dictate. The climax of this hidden life was the mystical marriage. In an ecstatic vision, Christ appeared to her, accompanied by his Blessed Mother, and placed a ring upon her finger, a ring invisible to others, but always visible to Catherine. This was not merely a pious sentiment, but a profound theological reality, the complete union of her soul with God. From this moment on, she carried within her a divine strength that would allow her to confront the most powerful figures of her age without fear. Following this mystical union, the Lord told Catherine it was time to leave her cell. "You must go forth," he commanded, "to save souls." The contemplative was transformed into an apostle of charity. She began to serve the poor and sick of Siena with heroic dedication, seeking out those with the most repulsive diseases whom no one else would touch. She saw in their suffering faces the very image of the crucified Christ, tending to their physical wounds, while simultaneously healing their souls with her words of comfort. Her charity was most evident during the waves of plague that devastated Siena. While others fled the city in terror, Catherine walked straight into the pestilence houses. She buried the dead, nursed the dying, and prepared souls for eternity. Her presence brought a supernatural peace to the most desperate situations. It is said that she never feared contagion, for her life was already given completely to God. Death held no terror for one who was already dead to the world. As her reputation for holiness grew, a community of disciples gathered around her, priests, religious, and lay people who called her Mama. It was extraordinary for a woman, with no formal theological training, to be the spiritual director of learned theologians. Yet, they recognized that her wisdom came not from books, but directly from the Holy Spirit. She guided them with firmness and maternal tenderness, urging them always toward perfection and the courageous love of truth. Catherine's sphere of influence soon expanded beyond Siena to the broader crisis affecting the universal church. The popes had abandoned Rome for Avignon in France, a period known as the Babylonian captivity of the church. This absence caused immense spiritual and political chaos in Italy. Driven by a divine imperative, Catherine began writing letters, dictated to her secretaries, to princes, cardinals, and eventually, the Pope himself. Her language was unique, affectionate yet fiercely demanding, calling them dearest fathers while rebuking their cowardice. In another profound mystical experience, Catherine received the stigmata, the 5 wounds of Christ's passion. However, in her deep humility, she begged God that these marks remain invisible to the world during her lifetime. Her prayer was answered. She felt the intense, searing pain of the wounds in her hands, feet, and side. But there were no outward signs until after her death. This invisible martyrdom fueled her tireless apostolate for the unity of the Church. The situation in Italy deteriorated into open rebellion against the papacy. Florence went to war against the Holy See, and Catherine was called upon to act as a mediator. She traveled to Florence, risking her life amidst violent political factions. Though her initial efforts for peace were complicated by treacherous politics, her courage in facing down armed mobs was undeniable. She stood as a beacon of divine justice in a world governed by brute force and greed. Realizing that peace in Italy was impossible without the Pope's return to Rome, Catherine undertook her most significant mission. In 1376, she traveled to Avignon to confront Pope Gregory XI. The papal court was a place of immense wealth and worldly corruption, shocked by the arrival of this austere, illiterate woman in a patched habit. Yet, when she was granted an audience, she spoke with an authority that terrified the cardinals. Catherine famously told the hesitant Pope Gregory, "Be a man." She revealed to him a secret vow he had made to God years prior to return to Rome, a vow no human being knew about. Struck by this revelation of divine knowledge, Gregory's resistance crumbled. Against the intense opposition of the French cardinals and king, the Pope finally returned to Rome in 1377, ending the nearly 7-decade absence. It was a historical turning point, driven by the prayers of a single saintly woman. However, the Church's trials were not over. After Gregory's death, the election of Pope Urban VI led to a catastrophic split, the Great Schism. French cardinals elected an anti-pope, plunging Christendom into confusion. Catherine, now living in Rome, was heartbroken. She threw her remaining energy into supporting the true pope, Urban VI, writing desperately to European leaders to recognize his legitimacy. The division of Christ's body on earth caused her immense spiritual and physical pain. During this chaotic period, Catherine dictated her spiritual masterpiece, the Dialogue of Divine Providence. This profound work is a conversation between her soul and God the Father. It explores deep theological truths about the nature of sin, the bridge of Christ incarnate, and the necessity of cleansing the soul through self-knowledge and the fire of divine love. It remains one of the greatest classics of Christian mysticism, earning her the title of Doctor of the Church centuries later. By 1380, Catherine's physical strength was completely gone. She had lived for years, eating almost nothing but the Holy Eucharist. Her body, consumed by fasting, penance, and the weight of the Church's suffering, finally gave out. In the weeks before her death, she experienced terrible physical torment, offering every pain for the unity of the Church. Lying on her deathbed in Rome, surrounded by her spiritual children, she prayed constantly for the bark of Peter, the Church, which seemed to be sinking in the storm. On April 29, 1380, at the age of just 33, Catherine uttered her final words, "Father, into your hands I commend my spirit." She died as she lived, a holocaust of love for God and His Church. The invisible stigmata she had borne for years became visible on her body after death, a final testament to her conformity with Christ crucified. The news of her passing spread quickly, causing waves of grief and veneration across Italy. Saint Catherine of Siena was canonized in 1461. In 1970, Pope Paul VI declared her a Doctor of the Church, recognizing the depth of her theological teaching, born from mystical experience. Later, she was named a patron saint of Europe. Her life stands as a stunning rebuke to the idea that faith is a private matter. For Catherine, the love of God absolutely necessitated a courageous engagement with the world, speaking truth to power regardless of the consequences. In a world today that is often just as confused and divided as the 14th century, St. Catherine's voice still resonates. She challenges us to leave the shallow waters of mediocrity and launch into the deep of divine intimacy. She reminds us, in her own immortal words, "Be who God meant you to be, and you will set the world on fire." Thank you for joining us on The Cross Remains. If this story inspired you, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell icon so you never miss our content. Until next time, may His love endure forever in your hearts.